And you then argue...
But let's let Adam come back. Pastor, I will come to you forthwith. But let's Adam.
So
Adam
then, how can you argue that science will come with an explanation
Well,
how the universe comes into existence? If there are no laws, there's no physical reality.
Look how far science has come with understanding the nature of the universe back to a trillionth of a second after the Big Bang in the past 100 years, compared with the progress that the likes of you made, I speak very kindly, over the past 3,000 years.
That science will explain something from coming from nothing.
Yeah,
to believe that something that's worse than magic. Peter.
So what
You're advocating magic.
So this is the uncaused cause or whatever. Yeah, the first cause. What caused the causer?
We, as rational beings, we know that whatever begins to exist needs a cause.
Right.
And the universe began
what
to
caused
exist.
God?
Well, that's a ridiculous question of why. That's like saying what caused and uncaused.
David Aronovich.
Well, I mean, straightforward on a logical basis, if everything has to have a cause, then something would have had to have created the thing that caused the cause.
That's the caricature.
So actually, you end up in exactly the same position as anybody else does, with the fact that you don't actually know. The difference between us is that you have a great kind of collection of intuitions which people have come to, and causal arguments, a little bit like my belief that if I listen to Tottenham Hotspur on the radio, they will lose. This is my superstition. Or my daughter's belief that those strange things on the pavement, if you walk on them, it will cause you bad luck, or any other kind of superstitions. You require a causal link, and you have attached to that an incredible superstructure of religious and cultural thought which you adduce to be true. Now, by and large, that is no great problem to me, and so on, but it is a great problem to you.
I think this is the big problem in it.
Francesca,
it illustrates...
biblical scholar.
Thank you. It illustrates, I think, this major misunderstanding about what the main Western monotheistic faiths and their creation stories are all about. What we're dealing with, it seems to me, are Muslims, Jews and Christians in a modern, contemporary, Western, intellectualised mindset who want to engage with science and want to engage with telescopes that look deep, deep, deep into the universe past. But the fact is that their religion and their faith commitments are based on ancient texts from ancient societies,
which is supported by modern science, which is supported by the Big Bang, the initial conditions of the universe.
Can I finish? These texts weren't produced by societies that were ever interested.
And religion.
Can I finish?
You may.
Thanks. These texts weren't produced by societies that were ever interested in an original question: where are we all from? Not even in the Quran. I mean, to be honest, a lot of these traditions about creation, don't image creation as a one-off event at the beginning of time.
God speaks
about... It shows creation as happening over and over and over and over
Mohammed,
again.
what is your greatest... Mohammed Hattatat, what is your greatest piece of evidence that you can adduce for God?
Yeah, before that, let's talk about the Big Bang, please. Yeah, the Big Bang. Okay. Because to say that theories like the Big Bang is in the ancient books, that's not true. The Big Bang is not mentioned in either the Old or the New Testament. It's only mentioned in the Quran. The difference in the Quranic Big Bang and the scientific Big Bang is as follows. The Big Bang in science, and modern day science, is a bang that happened that the whole universe was a single entity that exploded. While in the Quran tells us that the whole universe was a single entity, and then God caused it to explode, but with controlled. It was controlled explosion.
We're onto something. Right.
So this, excuse me, let me finish. So this controlled explosion leads to a known results. While every other explosion we know, every bang we know, leads to destruction and no known results. So when we bang the Hiroshima, no new...
Andrew Pinson, you're a physicist, is he right?
I can't comment. I'm not a Quranic expert, so I can't comment on
the physics, though.
On the physics.
Controlled or uncontrolled.
I think the key point, the key battleground about evidence for God using reason is really in the area of philosophy more than science. And science shades off into philosophy at some point. But that's where the real battleground is. So it's slightly, people tend to argue past one another a little bit when it comes to just science alone.
But isn't that idea of the cosmological constant? It's this number, this tuning that has to be right within something like 120 decimal places. Is that not a real problem for you, Peter?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a real problem, and we think we understand the nature of it as well. The point about scientific approach to understanding the origin of the universe is that it
fine-tuning of the universe.
It simplifies the kind of questions that one should ask in the expectation of getting answers. And one of them is the fine-tuning. Another is to say, well, okay, a lot of energy had to be made at the inception of the universe. How much energy was made? And what science does, and what religion does not, is to provide an answer to that second question. And it says the amount of energy that had to be created at the beginning was absolutely zero. So if you extrapolate that to the amount of work that God had to do at the time, you can see that he didn't have to do anything at all. What science is doing is really getting to the core of what actually happened on day dot.
There's a false dichotomy. If you're an atheist, you somehow support the progress of science. If you're a theist, then you want to quash it. No.
Well, no, that's not the case. He's a scientist.
Yeah, well,
they understand science. They accept evolution. They
Absolutely. So what we're saying here as a theist, what we're saying is that as a theist, we hold that the universe has an origin, and the universe was fine-tuned for the existence of intelligent life. And anyone who holds that falls within mainstream science. Of course, these achievements are tentative, and they're open to change. But at the current moment, everything points to God.
No, it doesn't, because there are there are many explanations of why why the universe is fine-tuned for life. One point is that a universe couldn't come into existence except with the fundamental constants that we've now got.
But that's begging the question, Peter.
And it's just
begging the question. Why were they fine-tuned?
And it is just a happy accident.
Did we just get lucky then?
We just got lucky. Another one, which is actually gaining ground.
So what we have...
Let them finish.
Is that there are trillions and trillions.
So we have chance of the gaps rather than God of the gaps.
Please be quiet while I'm on trying to put you right. That there are trillions and trillions and trillions of universes, each with it may be a different mix of fundamental constants. And it is not in the least surprising that one of these turns out to be appropriate for life.
Okay, well, let's talk about God in our... I just wonder, there's something else here. I know, Diana, you're desperate to get in, but... And you can address this question as well. Let's move on to God in our everyday lives. I mean, that was fascinating. But God in our... I just wonder...
That's exactly what I was thinking.
David, well, David, let's consider this, if you will. David, I'll get you to answer this question. There are moments, and we all have them, when we look at someone we love and we just feel elevated. We feel a sublime, transcendent... I saw it when Peter was looking across at Adam there. No, but we feel a sublime, transcendent moment, or we see something utterly beautiful, and we feel something incredible. Is that... Some people think that is when we're close to God.
Yeah, I've heard this a lot. I mean, I was recently in hospital and I went bonkers for 4 days. I had 4 days of delusions. Those delusions to me were utterly and completely real. The mind is an absolutely extraordinary thing, and it's hugely varied. It's incredibly evolved, and it is far more flexible than people believe.
But that feeling of sheer love and transcendent beauty.
Well, sometimes you feel that. Sometimes you feel, my God, it's a horrible, bloody rainy day, and I wish I wasn't going out in it. And that person is really getting on my nerves and so on. The moments we don't talk about. So why should we ascribe God to the moment when we feel that kind of moment of love, and not God also to that moment where we feel pretty crappy, for instance, which is also quite a lot of the things that we feel. I don't feel the need, in a sense, in other words, when I feel good, to think, I feel really good, somebody must have given that to me.
I'm not just talking about... Really it's not just feeling good, is it?
No.
It's not... Explain to him.
I think in practice, for many of us, certainly for myself, a sense of awe in studying the cosmos is often the beginning of a movement towards a faith. And certainly for myself, studying certain objects in mathematics and science, particularly particle physics, gave me an extraordinary sense of order.
What's interesting to me is why you need that.
That's not enough to convert someone, but often it's enough to start moving someone. But what often, for me personally, it's not just the sense of awe, but also the sense of the fruitfulness in the world. And,
what about the death and the famine and the disease and the murder?
I'm talking about the fruitfulness the fruitfulness of faith in so many areas, in art and in music, and in particular the lives of the saints, because every now and again we produce extraordinary individuals who, I suppose, and now I'm putting on my theologian's hat, who sort of show the face of God in some way or other.
But we produce extraordinary individuals who are not saints, don't we? We produce lots and lots of, in fact, many more extraordinary individuals who are not saints.
Martin Luther King was no saint, but he was an extraordinary individual.
Yes. Yes.
Go on.
Well, I just want to, because, sorry, lots of people across the room have been talking about the idea that the Big Bang and some of science, that God might be guiding this. And I just think if God is somehow guiding evolution and the development of the Earth and all the planets, could he not have guided it in a way that had a little bit less famine and that didn't have motor neuron disease and cancer and all these other things?
Why is that, Pastor? Because you address this issue, don't you? Why did God create, E. coli and horrible diseases and parasites that burrow into the eyes of children in sub-Saharan Africa? Why did God create those things?
Well, I believe that God exists, and but there's also, we need to look at the argument from the idea of also the spiritual side. We don't just look at the physical side. If we argue from just the physical side, we have a truncated view of reality and of the word, because there's a spiritual reality, there's also a physical reality. Okay, and so the evil that we see in the world, according to what I know from the biblical record, is that there is an evil. Evil is real. There is Satan. There is a devil.
Why did
children
get leukemia? Why did
illness and sicknesses and evil are coming away? It came because of sin.
Because of sin.
Because of sin. In God there is no sin in God. God is pure. God is holy.
So is God punishing us for?
God allows things to happen in our lives.
You don't like this, Stephen, do you?
No, I don't. I'm happy on two fronts. First of all, that those, if you like, who are opposed to God are trying to put my understanding of God into a particular box where he's got anthropomorphic character, where he's a guy in the sky almost, and I'm not interested in that at all.
No, I'm not saying
just a second, let me just finish. And secondly, there is a desire somehow or other to make God into somebody who directly intervenes in the world day by day and does things to people. No, he doesn't. That's not the way in which my understanding of ultimate reality,
how on earth
which is
do
God,
atheists get the impression that religious people believe that?
Because some religious people do believe that.
People,
and some other religious people don't believe it.
The Bible actually...
Does he answer prayers?
He does.
Does he answer prayers?
In the way in which I understand God acting, yes, he does, because he works within me to enable me to perhaps be a better person than actually I am.
He does. He does answer prayers.
He works through the arrows, in a sense, of goodness, truth, beauty, love, etc., which are the way in which make up that ultimate reality which I understand to be God.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Reverend Kim Go, who was he was a former triad gangster. He's now a Methodist minister. He went to prison 357 counts. Put your hands together for him. He found Jesus. And Jesus changed your life. The first time you were in prison, God spoke to you, didn't he?
Yes, he sure did.
Literally?
And I wasn't looking for religion. The last thing I want to know is Christianity, God. Look after number one. But guess what? I swore at him and he spoke to me. It's just like an atheist. What do you believe in? Can I pose that question to you, Dave? What does atheists believe in?
Well, no, I don't believe there's a God. Right. It's an absence of belief.
Atheists don't believe in anything, right? Nothing. Hang on. I'm speaking. I didn't interrupt you when you speak. Please.
You wanted to.
Atheists believe in nothing. Is it still something they believe in? Nothing.
When you say God spoke to you, what do you mean? Did you hear his voice?
Yes, just like you and me talking, and I thought I was hallucinating.
Maybe you were hallucinating.
Sound like you talking to me.
Okay, what did it sound like?
Like we're having a conversation, a voice.
What language was he speaking?
English.
I was speaking to me in English. I was effing him in English.
Was it a soft voice? Was it a loud voice, an insistent voice?
No, it wasn't loud. It's no thunder and lightning. It's like a normal conversation.
What did he say?
Well, because I was effing at him, because of the vicar or the chaplain, and then he said, why are you swearing at me? And I thought for a moment, one of the other convicts over there was a ventriloquist.
Which he might have been.
So I was about to arrange their face. And I look around and they were doing their own thing, smoking or, you know, talking.
Yeah.
So I have another go at him. And I believe he got up from the wrong side of the bed that morning. He took offense to me swearing. Of course, a lot of people...
years compared with the progress that the likes of you made, I speak very kindly, over the
Peter,
past
to suggest
3,000
that
years.
science will explain something from coming from nothing.
Yeah,
to believe that something that's worse than magic. Peter.
So what
You're advocating magic.
So this is the uncaused cause or whatever. Yeah, the first cause. What caused the?
What can you then argue?
But let's let Adam come back. Pastor, I will come to you forthwith. But let's Adam.
So then, how can you argue that science will come with an explanation of how the universe came into existence? If there are no laws, there's no physical reality.
Look how far science has come with understanding the nature of the universe back to a trillionth of a second after the Big Bang in the past 100...
A causal link, and you have attached to that an incredible superstructure of religious and cultural thought which you adduce to be true. Now, by and large, that is no great problem to me and so on, but it is a great problem to you.
I think this is the big problem in it.
Francesca,
it illustrates...
biblical scholar.
Thank you. It illustrates, I think, this major misunderstanding about what the main Western monotheistic faiths are.
In exactly the same position as anybody else does, with the fact that you don't actually know. The difference between us is that you have a great kind of collection of intuitions which people have come to, and causal arguments, a little bit like my belief that if I listen to Tottenham Hotspur on the radio, they will lose. This is my superstition. Or my daughter's belief that those strange things on the pavement, if you walk on them, it will cause you bad luck, or any other kind of superstitions. You require...
Order.
We, as rational beings, we know that whatever begins to exist needs a cause.
Right.
And the universe began
what
to
caused
exist.
God?
Well, that's a ridiculous question of why. That's like saying, what caused and uncaused?
David Aronovich.
Well, I mean, straightforward on a logical basis, if everything has to have a cause, then something would have had to have created the thing that caused the cause.
That's the character.
So actually, you end up